Jealousy did not appear in my sister's heart overnight. It grew slowly, quietly, like a shadow that followed her everywhere. At first, it was just small comments, subtle comparisons, uncomfortable silences, forced smiles when others praised me. I didn't notice it immediately because I trusted our bond as sisters. I believed love was stronger than competition. As time passed, the attention I received, whether for my confidence, my calm nature, or the way I carried myself, started to bother her deeply. She watched how people respected me, how I stayed focused on my own growth without trying to impress anyone. Instead of being inspired, she felt threatened. Every compliment I received felt to her like something taken away from her. Social gatherings became difficult. She observed how conversations naturally flowed toward me, how people listened when I spoke. In her mind, this was unfair. She began to believe that life had chosen me over her, that I had something she deserved more. This belief slowly turned into resentment. Instead of talking to me or understanding her own emotions, she kept everything inside. The jealousy hardened her heart. She stopped celebrating my success and started questioning her own worth. Rather than seeing my journey as separate from hers, she made it personal. This was the moment when sisterhood quietly turned into comparison. Love was replaced by silent competition. And although she never said it out loud, her thoughts became clear through her actions. Jealousy had taken root, and once it did, it began shaping every decision she would make next. As the jealousy grew stronger, my sister started believing that her problem was not emotional, but physical. In her mind, the difference between us was not confidence or mindset, it was appearance. She convinced herself that if she could change how she looked, everything else would fall into place. This belief slowly became an obsession. She spent hours scrolling through social media, watching before and after transformations, reading comments filled with praise and attention. Each image reinforced a dangerous idea. Beauty could be bought, and validation could be forced. Instead of working on her inner struggles, she searched for a shortcut to feel superior. The decision to get a BBL did not come from self-love. It came from comparison. She wasn't trying to become her best self. She was trying to become better than me. In her heart, the surgery was not about healing insecurity, but about winning a silent competition that only she believed existed. She ignored the risks, the warnings, and even the financial burden. Anyone who questioned her choice was pushed away. She told herself that once the procedure was done, people would look at her differently. She imagined admiration replacing envy, applause replacing insecurity. What she didn't realize was that a body can change, but a wounded mindset remains the same. The choice she made was driven by desperation, not clarity. It was the moment when jealousy turned into action, when inner conflict became an external decision with lasting consequences. This wrong choice set everything in motion, leading her further away from peace and deeper into a struggle she didn't yet understand. That after her decision, everything between us began to change. The warmth that once defined our sisterhood slowly faded, replaced by tension I couldn't immediately explain. Conversations felt forced, and her words carried an edge they never had before. It was no longer about sharing life. It was about comparison. She started measuring herself against me in ways that felt unnatural. How people reacted to her, how much attention she received, even how often my name came up in conversations. Everything became a scorecard in her mind. Where there should have been support, there was silent rivalry. She watched my actions closely, mimicked my style, and tried to position herself where I once stood comfortably. It wasn't admiration. It was imitation fueled by insecurity. She believed that by copying my outward presence, she could replace my place in people's lives. But what she didn't understand was that authenticity can't be duplicated. Family gatherings became uncomfortable. I sensed her frustration whenever I spoke or laughed freely. She no longer saw me as her sister, someone to grow alongside, but as an obstacle to overcome. The bond we once shared was overshadowed by her need to feel superior. I tried to reach out, to remind her that there was no competition between us. But jealousy had already rewritten her perspective. In her world, only one of us could shine, and she was determined to be that person. This was the turning point. Sisterhood, once built on trust and shared history, was reduced to rivalry. And in trying to win a race that never existed, she lost the very relationship that should have mattered most. After the transformation, my sister finally received the attention she had been chasing for so long. Compliments started pouring in. Curious glances turned into admiration, and people who had once overlooked her suddenly noticed her presence. To her, this felt like victory. She believed she had proven her worth. Social media played a big role in feeding this illusion. Likes increased, messages flooded in, and validation came from strangers who knew nothing about her pain or intentions. Each notification gave her a brief sense of importance, a momentary escape from the insecurity she carried for years. But the attention was shallow. It focused only on her appearance, not her character, intelligence, or heart. Conversations lacked depth, and the admiration faded as quickly as it appeared. When the excitement settled, silence followed. Behind closed doors, the emptiness grew louder. She realized that attention didn't bring peace. It didn't heal jealousy or fix broken relationships. The admiration she received never filled the emotional void inside her. It only distracted her from it. What hurt her most was seeing that despite all the attention, my place in people's lives hadn't disappeared. Respect and connection can't be stolen through appearance alone. This realization frustrated her deeply. The temporary spotlight slowly dimmed, leaving her alone with the same insecurities she tried to escape. The glow she chased had no foundation, and without inner confidence, it couldn't last. This phase taught a harsh truth. Attention without authenticity fades quickly, and what is gained for the wrong reasons never brings lasting satisfaction. That over time, the truth began to surface, quietly at first, then all at once. People started noticing the tension between us, the forced smiles, the awkward silences. What once felt like confidence in her now seemed restless, almost desperate. Questions were asked, and answers slowly revealed more than she intended. Family members sensed that something was wrong. Stories didn't align, intentions felt unclear, and her behavior no longer matched the image she tried to project. The admiration she once received turned into curiosity, then concern. It became clear that her actions weren't rooted in self-growth, but in comparison. Conversations exposed hidden motives. Remarks she made in frustration revealed jealousy she had tried to disguise as ambition. The truth didn't come out through confrontation alone. It showed itself through patterns, choices, and emotional reactions she couldn't control. When the full picture became clear, the atmosphere shifted. People understood that this wasn't about change or confidence. It was about trying to replace someone else's role rather than build her own. The realization was uncomfortable, but unavoidable. For her, this was the hardest moment. Being seen for who she truly was behind the transformation felt more painful than being ignored. She realized that while appearances can distract, they can't protect the truth forever. This was the turning point where illusions broke. The narrative she created no longer held power. Truth has a way of standing firm, even when everything else fades. And once it does, there's no pretending. When the noise finally faded and the attention disappeared, my sister was left alone with her thoughts. The silence felt heavier than any criticism she had faced before. Without compliments or comparisons to distract her, she began to see the damage her choices had caused, not just to others, but to herself. Relationships had changed. Some people kept their distance, others spoke less, and the warmth she once craved was gone. That was when regret quietly settled in. She realized that in trying to take something that was never hers to begin with, she had lost parts of herself: trust, connection, and peace. For the first time, she questioned her intentions. Why did she feel the need to compete? Why did someone else's confidence make her feel smaller? These questions hurt, but they were necessary. The realization came slowly. Her pain was never about me. It was about her own unresolved insecurities. She understood that changing her body didn't heal her heart. The surgery altered her appearance, but it couldn't fix the mindset that pushed her toward comparison and resentment. What she truly needed was self-acceptance, not approval. This realization was painful, but it was also freeing. Admitting her mistakes allowed her to see a different path, one not built on jealousy, but on personal growth. Though the regret couldn't erase the past, it opened the door to accountability. This moment marked the beginning of awareness. True change, she learned, doesn't start with the body. It begins with honesty. The end, everything settled into clarity. There was no dramatic victory, no dramatic loss, only understanding. My sister learned that trying to become someone else cost her more than it ever gave. The attention faded, the comparisons lost meaning, and what remained was the truth she could no longer avoid. She finally understood that confidence cannot be stolen, copied, or created through appearance alone. What people valued in me was never something she could take. It was built through self-respect, calm strength, and authenticity. Those qualities grow from within, not from external change. For me, the lesson was just as powerful. I learned that my worth never depended on being chosen over someone else. I didn't need to compete, explain, or defend myself. Staying true to who I was protected my peace in ways no validation ever could. Time softened the pain. Boundaries replaced bitterness, and acceptance replaced anger. There was no need for revenge or confrontation. Life itself revealed the outcome. Each of us had to face the consequences of our own choices. The story ends not with punishment, but with wisdom. Jealousy destroys quietly, while self-acceptance builds slowly but lasts forever. When you stop comparing, you stop suffering. This final chapter leaves a simple truth behind. The most powerful glow comes from inner peace, and no one can take that away from you.